Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, October the 3rd. Thanks for tuning in to All Things Division III Soccer with SimpleCoach and Jackie in our usual spots. I am SimpleCoach. And that there is Jackie. She's kind of sleeping. Got her eyes open, but yeah. Anyhow, today is the day. Today is the day. The pole of poles, the ring of power, the SimpleCoach top 25 as seen by the chief dog officer, Jackie. Hey, look at that. She's paying attention now. Oh, maybe not. It's going to be a humdinger, right? And actually, today, Tuesday, busy day. Got an interview coming up, which is going to really rock the Division III world. Maybe not rock it, but it'll be interesting. So top 25s today. As usual, let us begin with the ladies. All right, let me get a sip of coffee because this is one of those days. I am going to need all of the caffeine influence my body can muster. All right, so coming in at number 25 at 6-0-3, down 9 spots, we are talking about Washington and Lee. They had a big tie against Christopher Newport, not to take anything away from them there, but they play Eastern Mennonite tomorrow, and they have a hugely home game against Lynchburg on Saturday. Number 4, Loris at 9-1. They are new to the top 25. You see, I'm an equal opportunity top 25 picker if you deserve it. So their only loss was to Carroll in mid-September. Here's what's interesting. Outside of that game where they conceded 2, they have not allowed a goal in any other game. And I actually think, just looking at their schedule, they could go 16-1. Their biggest test by far in the latter half of the season is going to be against Simpson, who they themselves are not too shabby at 8-1. So next up at 23, 7-2-1, Pacific Lutheran. They are also new to the top 25s. Look at that, 2 in a day. I mean, I can't contain my excitement. They have a big game against Puget Sound tomorrow, so that'll be interesting to see. Can they hold their spot? Do they have the medal? Next up, the Jersey Gals of Montclair State at 7-1-1. Same spot as last week. They tied Stockton, followed by a really solid win. I think it was 5-0 against Ramapo, another New Jersey team. They have games tomorrow at Arcadia, and then they have a huge NJAC caged death match against Rowan. So like I always say about the NJAC, it's either knives, clubs, or brass knuckles. They get to choose, and then they play. Next up, in 21, up 2 spots, 7-0-1 Swarthmore. They just keep winning, and I actually think again they could be 9-0-1. They should be, if they're that good. Should be 9-0-1 when they face off against Johns Hopkins on the 11th. So to keep that one on the radar. Down 7 spots to number 20 at 7-1, NYU. They play Wash U. They defeated an undefeatable. They were defeated by Case Western, so they were no longer undefeatable. And then they just pounced on Sarah Lawrence. And this is a question I have for them. Do they have the medal? They have Chicago on Saturday and Wash U in 2 weeks. Up 2 spots to number 19, Calvin University, the Knights at 8-0-2. They have, let me see, look at this. I'm sorry, my eyes are not as healthy anymore. They have 3 wins in a row since tying Illinois Institute of Technology, which I'm here today putting on the radar because I did not know they are 9-1-1. Um, so I'm going to have to watch them because maybe they're deserving. I don't know, but I'll take a look. At 18, up a spot at 7-0-2, down in Tejas. Hardin Simmons. They tied against McMurray, and I just think they're making some noise down there, not letting they're not letting another Texas team have all the accolades. So, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. Same spot as last week at 17. You're looking at the College of New Jersey, the Lions, another Jersey girl team. They keep winning, and the NJAC is going to be the NJAC. So we'll see if they have the stuff. Yeah. So at 16, up 4 spots, Messiah back to winning ways. Since they lost the 2 consecutive games, was it? I forget who it was. It was McDaniels was one of them. I forget the other one. Get this: they've won 3 games, they've scored 7, and they've conceded nothing. So that's a good return. So yeah, up 4 spots. Conversely, down 4 spots at 7-0-2 at 15th is Williams. Williams. What's interesting about them is they had a great one against Amherst. They haven't allowed a goal all season, which is pretty remarkable. Which I know it's kind of harsh because I was disappointed in their draw with Clark. I thought they should have done what they do. But if they keep this, they're going to be moving up the charts, clearly. Next up, 14th, up a spot, the frozen tundra, Wisconsin lacrosse. Since losing to Christopher Newport, they've racked up wins against Virginia, a very good Virginia Wesleyan team, and Wisconsin Oshkosh. They have 2 big games on the horizon, Wisconsin Whitewater and the Milwaukee School of Engineering, who in their own right is I think they're like 9-1-1 as well. So definitely again on the radar. Number 13, the Amherst Monmouths down 4 spots, 7-1-1. They had a tough loss to Williams. Again, that was one of Williams' big win. They have big matchups this weekend. Like they could catapult or they could crash, right? They're away at Wesleyan and then at Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain's school, Bowdoin. Next up, 12, another NJAC. Rowan at 8-0-1, up 2 spots. They keep winning, and again, the game to watch is going to be against Montclair State this weekend. If you want to watch a true NJAC brawl, that's going to be it. Next up at 11, down a spot at 9-0-1, Pomona Pitzer from Cali. They tied Claremont Mudscripts, but I really like this team. So I think they play very well. So keep an eye on them. Next up, another Cal team. They keep rolling along at number 10, up 2 spots. 9-0-1 Cal Lutheran. They've only allowed 1 goal all season. That's defensive work right there. That's hard to do. And they are on a collision course with, you guessed it, Pomona Pitzer in 2 weeks. All right, so let's go with the final 9. Here we go. Okay, down 2 spots. Down 2 spots to number 9. you're looking at Hartford at 6-2. This team is good. Don't get me wrong. This team is good. I think they're as solid on the attack as anyone, and I could see a scenario where they roll along all the way seriously to the final. My biggest issue where I cannot overlook and why I don't know, I'm reluctant. There's no history with them except for the Division One world, right? Because this is their first year as Division Three, and I don't know if that's fair or not, but I'm concerned for them and how easily they get scored on. Like in the last 3 games, they've conceded 6 goals. They've won, but they've conceded 6 goals. So in 3 games, that's 2 goals a game, right? So that's a lot. That's a lot. I would expect a team of that caliber to have a much lower, right? You look at some of these teams, they have conceding 0 goals. So anyhow, I don't want to go on about that. But next up, down 2 spots at 7-0-2 in 8th, University of Paywall. You guessed it, Rochester. They tied against a very good Chicago on the road, and they're on a collision course for Carnegie Mellon. I don't know if it's this weekend or in 2 weeks. Can't remember. I don't have it in my notes. So, at number 7, Mary Hardin Baylor, up 11 spots. Look, undefeatable, right? Like at this point, if you're undefeatable, you deserve at least top 10 billing. Like it's getting you're starting to push there. So the Tejas team, and they just keep winning. So next up at number 6, you're looking at Christopher Newport at 9-0-1, down 4 spots. They tied against number 25 Washington and Lee. Very, very good team. And then they beat the very good the 14th ranked Wisconsin Lacrosse. So the tie is what drags them down in my book, especially now where it's getting super tight. The slightest blemish is going to crush. I know that's not fair in the late stages of a poll, but is what it is. Next up 3 spots, William Smith College of Hobart and Smith, 6-0-3. They after a couple ties, they had solid wins against Ithaca and Clarkson, and then this weekend on Saturday they play against Vassar. So that should be very, very interesting. At number 4, Johns Hopkins, up a spot at 8-1-1. They just keep winning right now. So, last year's national champs. Yeah, they're going to be a force to contend with. So, next up, same spot as last week. No movement. Number 3, 9-0-1, Case Western Reserve. I had a big win against NYU, not taking anything away from them. They face another big game against Emory on Saturday, so we'll see where that lands. And then number 2, up 2 spots. Undefeatable Wash U, the Bears. They keep winning. The most important, again, and this goes back to the Hartford point, Wash U has not conceded a goal all season. They're undefeatable, unscored upon. This is Christopher Newport last year, right? Or 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I'm sorry. Like that's how convinced they are about how good they are, right? Like they defend. So leaves the last one, same spot, no change at number 1, 11-0, Carnegie Mellon, undefeatable as well. They do that. they have a bigly game on Saturday against the number 7 University of Paywall. So, who, by the way, University of Paywall, they still have me blocked on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it now. Anyhow, that's the top 25s. At 9, Hartford. 8, U, Paywall. 7, Mary Hardin Baylor. 6, Christopher Newport. 5, William Smith. 4, Johns Hopkins. 3, Case Western. Number 2, Wash U. And number 1, Carnegie Mellon. And with that, let's switch over to the men. Top 25 men. Hey, look, let me go back for a second on the women's side. There, this is hard. Like, not the top 10s. I think the top 10s are easy, or relatively easy. You can deduce who the top 10s are, and I'm probably, it's not, none of that is rocket science. Some of the teams deserving there. You could quibble with a couple, I'm sure, and you might have your biases, but there are a bunch of teams out there that I'm like looking at, like, wow, these are teams that are worth looking at. And I mentioned a few. I mentioned MSOE. Whitewater is always there. Chicago 6-1-3. Hamilton at 5-0-3. Cortland State, the husband-wife team at Cortland State. Coach Axtell on the men's side and Coach Axtell on the women's side. They're doing a heck of a job up there at 6-2-2 again. Again, not my favorites, but North Central for football, not for soccer. At 9-2, MIT is 5-0-1. Misericordia, don't keep your eye off of them. They're 5-3-1, and then Emory at 4-2-2. So there are teams out there that are definitely on the up and up to keep an eye on. So, and this is where all of the games sort of narrow in and really become game by game slugfest conference. Like, these are tough times. And if you're carrying some injuries or whatever, that's going to be that's tough. That's going to make it even tougher. On the men's side, let me start with some of the teams that all of a sudden are now also on my radar that for one reason or another I decided aren't top 25 yet. But I do think are worth mentioning, and to one degree or another, I think are really good soccer teams and that I enjoy watching. So, St. Olaf is still out there, 5-3-1. Don't forget about them. Babson at 7-3-1, right? I think NUMAC, right? Like, so they're rolling along. Colorado College at 7-2-1. Jackie and I talk about the Texas schools and how good the Texas schools, but don't forget Colorado College is doing what it's doing and racking up the wins. Emory at 7-1-2, right? Like, they're a force to reckon with. Another Wisconsin team, Wisconsin Eau Claire, again, 90 minutes of hell, right? 7-1-2. It's working. I have not talked at all about the battling Bishops of Ohio Wesleyan, 7-2-1. And they were in. I still think these guys have a long run in the NCAAs. 7-2-1, John Carroll. They keep doing it. I think they have a big match against Ohio Northern this weekend. Hey, Matt Turner's school, right? The school, the place that Matt Turner wanted to go to school that ghosted him, Muhlenberg. The new turf is proving itself to be worthwhile. They're at 7-1-1. I still have questions about them. I haven't watched them a few times, right? I still have questions about them, but they are definitely on the radar. Lebanon, down the road, Lebanon Valley at 8-1. Coach Rob One Take Harrington, who, if you haven't subscribed on X to him, do it, because he does some great little insights videos that are fantastic. Talks a little bit about Milwaukee, talks about soccer, and talks about some of his players. Really, really enjoyable stuff. They're at 9-1-1. And then lastly, who was on the top 25s but is now off, SUNY New Paltz, 7-1-2. So, but with that, let's go with it on the top 25s. At number 25, at 8-1-1, Occidental. They had a tie and a win, and they have a stretch of 4 really tough matches. Excuse me. Ooh, what was that? Maybe it's flies. Like, my office is such a mess. But where was I? They have 4 tough matches. Chapman. They face the Banana Slugs of UC Santa Cruz. They face Claremont Mudscripts and Cal Lutheran. So it's not going to be any easier for them. If they get through that unscathed, man, they're jumping up high. Next up, back in the top 25s at number 24, 7-2-1, Calvin, the Knights. After losses to Mount Union and Carthage, I mean, they charged back with a win against John Carroll, right, which is pretty remarkable. And they tied defending national champs Chicago at Chicago. So next up, and new to the top 25 because they play great soccer and they've been doing it at 6-0-2. Coach Burke's men at Connecticut College. You know what? They've been quietly playing great soccer. Very noticeable difference in my mind between last year and this year. Last year, I thought there was some element where they thought they were all that and they shouldn't have to compete. And this year, they're like, they've forgotten all of that and they're getting back to it. They have a huge game today against Amherst. So this afternoon, if you get a chance, watch. Next up, 22, Trinity Tejas, one of the Tejas teams. They had a rough day of Texas Lutheran guy, rightly red carded, I think, based on what I saw, against Texas Lutheran, led to a goal, and then, with minutes left, they conceded a second. But this team is still deserving, even though they're down a spot. So another new one to the top 25s, Christopher Newport at 6-1-1. You know what? They were a victim again. The Colorado College doing what it does. They were a victim of them, and then they went out and they took it out against Richard Stockton University. So, next up, the Purple Raiders remain in my top 25. University of Mount Union at 9-1. They suffered their first loss against Ohio Northern, and I think their next big game. So I think they could be 11-1, 12-1. They should be, whatever that is, however many games before they face off against Capital in 2 weeks. I would say this is the kind of team that there might be trap games. This is the kind of team, too, that defensively super, super strong. I think the only thing that I wonder about is, can they score on the run of play? Right, the goal against Ohio Northern was a penalty kick, right, so yeah, I think that's something to be mindful of. But I wholeheartedly support and endorse this position of 20th, down 5 spots. Next up, down 2 spots to 19, 7-1-1, University of the Redlands. They had a tie and a win, and then they tied and they won, but they are sort of back on track since their loss to Occidental, number 25 Occidental. Next up, so another team, watch out, at 18th, Lynchburg. They are up 4 spots at 9-1. They just continue to roll, right? Like just tough as nails. I will say on Saturday, hugely game against University of Mary Washington. So that's going to be a humdinger. Dropping down to earth a little bit, 17-10-1, no longer undefeatable. Carleton out of Minnesota at 17th. They lost to St. Olaf, and they bounced back with a win against St. Scholastica. So, that might have been a good thing for them to lose and against St. Olaf and have to work their way back. So, up 3 spots. Case Western in 16th. Since losing to Mount, they've had big wins against Denison and NYU. Granted, NYU is, I think that's the story, like what's happened to NYU, but nonetheless, not taking anything away from Case. They are a good team. Coach Poe is a great young coach. Yep. So this one's a shocker. It's down 10 spots. St. Thomas, again, the Tejas teams are still hanging in there, showing really good soccer. I'm starting to reconsider as I'm doing this, like, shouldn't they belong? But, St. Thomas, tough loss to Colorado College. Again, Colorado College. I might have to apologize in advance for not including you in the top 25. Maybe I should have bounced you up there. Holy smokes, you're taking out the big dogs. Next up, same spot, Middlebury at 6-0-2. They haven't conceded a goal in their outings against Bates and Wesleyan. They have a big match today, Tuesday, at Vassar, and then at Colby on Saturday. So that'll be. This is a team I'm sort of like wishy-washy on. I'm not sure. So, and not to mention they play in an SCAC, which is absolutely brutal, right? And quite frankly, like they have to. Their records and strength of schedule is going to help them, but right, you got to win the NESCAC, right? Like I think that's the big one. That to me is going to be the real teller. So up 3 spots to 13th, Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain School. Bowdoin really they had a win and a tie last week, but their back end schedule is going to be a real test of their fortitude, both intestinal and on the soccer field, because it's a real. They have a real scorcher of a schedule. Next up at number 12, at up 6 spots, undefeatable Widener. They have a big test on Wednesday. They travel to Stockton, and then the game that's really going to be a test for them because they kind of got really handled last year as they face Messiah at Messiah. So this is going to be a big one. Are they up? Do they have it? Or is this, again, they can take care of the games they should, but they can't seem to, punch above their weight, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Up a spot at number 11, 10-1, North Central. Since losing, like so many have, to Carleton 3 weeks ago, they have 4 wins in a row. So they just got back on track really quick. Next up, up 1 spot, number 10, Franklin and Marshall. They've won their last 3 games combined 10-2, including yesterday's game at 4-0 at Alvernia. I think it was Alvernia. Same spot as last week. Again, another NESCAC. Tufts University, the Jumbos at 6-1-2. Coach Desatel has a very, very good team on his hands. They did just win, and they had a tie, but I think this team is special and seems to be running on all cylinders. So down a spot, number 8, Montclair State, led by junior Amer Lukovic, who is the leading scorer in the country with 17 goals at this point. Yeah, 9-0-1. They're good. Again, I have these kind of like with Middlebury. I have this same feeling about Montclair. I have to say, if Amer Lukovic keeps doing what he's doing, these guys have a long run in them. But I've said this before, I just never get a feel like this is a unit, a team. I get a sense it's more of a collection of individuals. But yeah, so we'll see. Down 4 spots. The former undefeatable is no longer undefeatable. SUNY Oneonta down 4 spots to number 7 at 9-1. Up 7 spots, giving it to Coach Axtell on the men's side. Cortland State at 9-1-1. They keep winning. And somehow manage to do it, even under circumstances where you're like, there's no way they can win, and they keep winning. So down a spot at 6-1-2, Chicago had a win and a tie. They tied against Calvin, which again, Calvin is at 24th. Calvin, right? It's respectable. I just for whatever reason, they just don't seem as dominant this year as I thought they were last year. Next up at number 4, up 2 spots, the Amherst Mammoths. Coach Serpone has them again. Just remarkable what he does there. Him and Coach Wagner, I can never figure out how they do it year in and year out. And just amazing. 7-1-1. They lost to Babson, but in spite of that, I still think they look like legitimate contenders. So, number 3, up 5 spots, because you gotta give it to them. Texas Lutheran, undefeatable. They had a big win against Trinity, big win, even though Trinity had, one of their players tossed, but they are, record-wise, again, the 3 teams out of Tejas are just incredible, and they're one of them, if not the leading one right now. So, next up, number 2, no change, 8-1. University of Mary Washington. They have a big game against Lynchburg on Saturday. Can they take care of business? That's going to be a big, big, big test. And then at number 1, no change, Messiah. 9-0-1. They keep doing what they're doing with conviction. They have a big, big game, as I mentioned, against Widener, undefeatable Widener. So they got to take care of business. They ebb and flow with the competition, and I would suspect that they're going to come out all guns a-blazing on that game. So there you have it. The men's top 25, the top 9 here. Tufts, Montclair, 7 SUNY Oneonta, 6 Cortland State, 5 Chicago, 4 Amherst, 3 Texas Lutheran, 2 Mary Washington, and 1 Messiah. So, and on the women's side, you have Carnegie Mellon at number 1. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this. Top 25s, there you go. Go forth and do what you do. For those of you in the top 25s, it is quite the honor. This is like it's okay to put stars on your chest for how many times you make the SimpleCoach top 25s because it is rarefied air. Anyhow, hope you're doing well. I got to prep now for this interview, which is going to be coming out later today as well. Hopefully you'll see that. And yeah, we'll get rolling. Any thoughts, ideas? Hey, I'm supposed to tell you this because it supposedly matters. Smash the like button or comment if you agree or disagree to the rankings. They do differ from everybody else, I think, like to be expected. But and then also, if you're looking for other polls aside from the United Soccer Coaches, check out the D3 boards. I think today the fan poll, of which I participate, is going to be up, and that's a really great poll as well because it just aggregates a bunch of fans who take a look at things. So, all right, hope you have a glorious day, and we will talk soon. Bye bye.